Hey guys, welcome back to another Friday Reads. I don't think this is going up on a Friday because I actually missed last Friday. I just honestly didn't have a chance to film a video at all because my wedding is in less than 2 weeks now. So it's been a little crazy over here, but I really did want to make sure I got this video up in a timely manner, and since September wrap-ups, October TBRs are right around the corner, I really wanted to get this up. This is the Unpopular Opinions book tag, and I was actually tagged in this by someone else. I have never ever done a tag before that I was actually tagged in by someone else. I would just do them when I wanted to. So thank you so much to Tatiana from the Little Book Fool. I will of course have her linked down in the description box. It's really great to have other booktubers to support and watch all their videos. Anyways, definitely go check her out after you're done watching this video, but let's go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to try and go through this relatively quickly. So the first question is, name a book or series that you didn't like. And of course, these are all going to be like popular books or series. The Mortal Instruments series? Am I allowed to be like a young girl that likes YA fantasy and not like the Mortal Instruments series? Because I feel like everyone else does. I read it a few years ago, and I read the first 5 because the 6th one wasn't out yet. I don't even have them in my hand anymore to reference. I actually sold the box set that I had, and I thought they were fine. I read all the books that I had, but then I sold them. I knew I wouldn't reread them. But since watching BookTube, I have realized that the best way to read Cassandra Clare's books are by publication order. So that means reading the first of the Mortal Instruments series and then jumping over to the Infernal Devices, back over to the Mortal Instruments series, and so on. So I have started rereading the Mortal Instruments series, but I'm just getting them out from my library. I don't think I'm going to buy them. If I got them as a gift, then of course I would keep them, and I'm going to try it that way because I've heard the Infernal Devices are better than the Mortal Instruments series, but that you should read them in publication order. So I'm rereading the first 5 of the Mortal Instruments series, and we'll see if my opinion changes. But for now, that's a popular book or series that I didn't like. 2 is a popular book or series everyone seems to hate, but you love. This is a book that I was obsessed with when I was in junior high, or maybe like freshman year of high school. I'm not really sure, but that's the Uglies series. And recently I've seen like a lot of flack for this, I guess. And I think that kind of has to do with not really the uprising, but like the feminist movement in terms of YA books is kind of picking up speed, in my opinion. A lot of the new releases have a lot of feminist topics, strong female characters, that sort of thing. And if you don't read this book in its entirety, the very first, I don't know, third, maybe even more, I'd have to reread it, is very dated, I guess. Like, this is a dystopian world where you are kept in a separate, almost town, city, until your 16th birthday, where you can undergo surgery to become pretty. And they make your, features more symmetrical, the society's view of what is pretty. And before that, you are deemed ugly. You may not actually be ugly, and of course, I believe that everyone is beautiful. So that part is kind of hard to read, and if you don't give it a chance, then I can understand why some people don't like this series. But I absolutely loved the whole series, except for the 4th book, the extras. I didn't really enjoy that, but the first 3 I have kept, and I will reread them at some point. But it does change. She does realize that she doesn't have to be pretty and that sort of thing. Like, there is development through this book, but I can understand if you didn't read the whole thing or even read the whole series, how you can get that opinion. But I really do love this. Here I said I wanted to be quick, and I'm already 5 minutes in. I'm only on question 2. 3 is a love triangle where the main character ended up with someone you didn't want them to, or an OTP you don't like. An OTP I don't like. I guess it's kind of like a love triangle, but not really. I do not like Clary and Jace together from the Mortal Instruments series. Not only because Jace is like tough guy, like typical teenage boy that you see in a lot of YA, but also, isn't there a point in time where they either think they're brother and sister or they are brother and sister? Like there's this big, again, I'm rereading them and I haven't gotten to that point to clarify, like I don't remember correctly, and yet they still are like in love with each other or something. That's just icky to me. I don't know. Their whole pairing together, I really don't like. 4 is a popular genre you hardly reach for. I did watch a few of these videos from other booktubers, and I can say, you know, romance, nonfiction, historical fiction, those types of genres for sure I don't read a ton of, and that seems to be the more popular answers. I'm going to go with a more non-typical answer and say YA contemporary. I've been trying to read more, trying to get into it because it does seem really popular here on BookTube, but a lot of the time I find myself feeling like they're really juvenile, and I do obviously I know that most of the time the characters are in high school, they're kind of coming to age and figuring things out, and maybe it's because, I don't know, I like grew up fast, I didn't have those experiences, that I just kind of feel like a lot of the time they're being foolish. So I find it hard to get invested or really like truly love those books, so I don't pick them up as often. 5, a popular beloved character you don't like. Now, I wanted to go super controversial for this, and I have 2 very controversial characters that are not my favorites. The first being Harry Potter. Okay, the Harry Potter series is, of course, one of my favorite of all time. 5 out of 5 stars for all of them. Absolutely love the Harry Potter series. Now that I'm rereading it again, I haven't read it in a very long time. Now that I'm rereading it again as an adult, and maybe being a mom also, like having sons plays a factor in this as well. My oldest is 7.5, so not that much younger than Harry is at the very beginning of the series in the first book. I see a lot of flaws in his character, just in the sense of he's 11 and trying to save the world and like being super arrogant, know-it-all. He knows what's best. He's not going to listen to any of his teachers. He obviously doesn't have parents to be defying, but I feel like he would be if they were to be alive, that sort of thing. And then I was just kind of thinking through all the other books, and he's still very young in the first couple of books. Like, he's a year older in each consecutive book. He's still way too young to be doing these types of things, and I think that's part of the allure when you are reading these books for the first time and you are in that age group. It's like, wow, he's a hero. But as an adult, I don't know. The second controversial character is Jon Snow. I have actually been reading the Song of Ice and Fire, Fire and Ice, I can never remember. I have it right here. The Song of Ice and Fire. This is book 5. It's on my current TBR shelf, although I probably won't get to it for a while. I liked Jon Snow in the first 3 books. I have never watched the TV show, so maybe that would change my mind. It is on my list. But in the 4th book, he does something so unforgivable. I, of course, will not get into spoilers if you haven't read the series, but if you have read the series, I think you would know what I'm talking about. It has to do with little tiny babies. And I read that when I had a newborn at home, and I was just like crying. It makes me so emotional. What he did, I think, is just so unforgivable. I don't care if it was a smart idea politically, anything like that. It was just terrible. What is wrong with me? I'm like getting emotional. I would totally recommend reading the Game of Thrones series, the Song of Ice and Fire series, if you haven't already. I really love it. The books are really dense and heavy, and I have to be reading something else alongside of it because I can only read a couple pages, but like 50 to 100 pages at a time. The books are really dense, and then I need to kind of read something else and digest it. But yeah, Harry Potter and Jon Snow. Number 6 is a popular author that you just can't seem to get into. Stuttering. For me, there's not a lot of authors that I have actually read from that I couldn't seem to get into, because I tend to pick up books that I know I will like, or like think I will like. But one that's really popular that I just don't really foresee myself ever picking up, that a lot of people seem to love, is Stephen King. And there's kind of 2 reasons for that. One is I'm a big fat chicken. And he writes mostly like horror. And I know he has like more thriller ones, more mystery ones. Like there is, you know, a variation. It's not all just like straight horror, gore, scary. But immediately my mind goes to it, and I hate clowns. And I know it has to do with there's kids in it. Like, I know I won't read that. And then I just kind of put those feelings onto everything else. The one that I kind of have in mind that I feel like maybe I could pick up is it called Last One Standing? It's about the walk that people go on, and like they're all killed off until the last one is standing. That sort of thing. I think I could read that one maybe, but I'm not really sure. And the second reason, let's get back to my 2 reasons why I just can't seem to get into him, is because I've heard from many people that his endings suck. And for me, a lot of the times, endings make the book. Like, I can find a book pretty mediocre, but then if it has a good ending, I will still like it. Like, it ups my enjoyment of the whole thing, if that makes sense, like when I'm looking back on it. So I'm scared of not really liking the book to begin with, and then having a mediocre ending as well. So, I don't know. 7 is a popular book trope you are tired of seeing. 100% insta-love. I just don't get it. And it's insta-love to the most extreme. Like, all of a sudden they would die for this person. They've just seen them. They love them. Then they end up getting together. Which, even if there's insta-love, I feel like you can fall in love at first sight or have a crush, is really what it is in my mind, and not have it reciprocated. It just makes me so upset. It's totally unrealistic. It doesn't make any sense in the real world. Yeah, they just need to stop with that. 8, a popular series you have no interest in reading. And I couldn't think of one that I have no interest in reading ever, but I have 2 here that I own that every time, like honestly for years, I just pass over it. But in my mind, I'm like, I'll get to them someday. But really, I don't know if I ever will. And those are Lord of the Rings. I have the full series, and I have The Hobbit, which I actually did read and didn't love. I found it kind of slow and boring, which I think is why I didn't end up picking up the rest of the series. But I always say, like, one day, if I'm a lover of fantasy, I have to read Lord of the Rings at least once, you know what I mean? But every time, I just pass over them. And the second one is Divergent. And I picked this up, of course, when the movie came out and it was super popular, but then I never picked up the book. And now I did watch the movie, which I think is part of the problem, but I didn't watch the subsequent movies because I was like, no, I need to read the series first, and then I just pass over it. However, I'm going to do my newts some point soon before the owls start again, and I was going to use this for the one that said read a book with gray on the cover, because the top half is gray, and I think that's going to be my push to finally read it. But yeah, I just keep passing over it. Last question, number 9, is the saying goes, the book is always better than the film, but what film or TV show adaptation do you like more than the book? Now, I couldn't think of any movies that I liked more than the books, but I can think of TV shows, and I actually thought of 3 just offhand. The first is The Same as Tatiana, Little Book Fool, who again is linked down below, and that is The Vampire Diaries. I read the first 2 books. This is a bind up of the first 2, The Awakening and The Struggle. And actually, this does follow pretty closely to the very beginning of the TV show. However, I know that the TV show goes way off to how the books were. I didn't absolutely love the writing style of the book. I found it to be really simplistic. And because I already knew I loved the show and that this would be completely different and I didn't love the writing style, I just never picked up the rest of them and continued watching the show. The Vampire Diaries is one of my favorite shows. Another one, the show is not one of my favorite shows, but I definitely enjoyed it more than the books, and that is Gossip Girl. I read quite a few of the books in high school. I own the first 2. This one has the cover from the CW series Gossip Girl, which is now on Netflix as well. This is just the newer edition. It's pretty old now. I think the biggest reason I like the show more than the book is that they casted the characters so perfectly, in my opinion. I actually like the physical people in the TV show more than how I had envisioned them reading the books. So I think that's why. And the third one I had picked out is Riverdale. It is nothing like the Archie comics, which I grew up with, but Riverdale is such a good dark TV show, and I think it's because they targeted the same audience that the Archie comics were targeted towards long ago. So I grew up reading them when I was in elementary school, probably up until I was 10 or 11. And now I'm an adult and Riverdale is targeted towards me, you know what I mean? So they are the characters that you grew up with. A lot of them have the same traits that the characters have in the comics, but of course it's much darker. It's for a much older age group than the comics are. So that is the end of the Unpopular Opinion Books tag. I had so much fun doing this. Thank you so much, Tatiana, again for tagging me. I was so excited to see that. I saw it on Twitter first because you tagged me on there, and then I watched it, and just hearing you say that you tag Emily from Emily and Family, I was like, that never ever happens. So thank you so much. I have a list of my favorite booktubers on here, but I haven't had time to check whether they have done this tag yet. If they haven't, they'll be down in the description box for you to check out their channels, and head over there and let them know that they are tagged in this tag. I will of course be doing the same. Thank you so much for watching. Please do give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!